When raging wildfires tore through L.A., they didn't spare Hollywood's elite. From shocking losses to emotional breakdowns, these 10 celebrities faced unimaginable devastation, and their reactions will leave you stunned. Here's what really happened. Number 10, Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton's Malibu house is a fabulous and recognized house where people create dreams, desires, love, and joy. When the devastating fires engulfed Los Angeles, her house was burnt to ashes. It was not just the loss of a home, but the loss of a home that stored years of her life in it. Just think about it, being deprived of not only your things, but also a part of your life, which is inappreciable. That's exactly what Paris experienced, and it was heartbreaking. The fire didn't discriminate, it ravaged the communities. It devoured houses, wildlife, and dreams. For Paris, the loss was too big to be explained in words. She posted on social media to express her loss to her fans, as she explained the feeling of having her home burned down. She shared pictures of the destruction, and her posts were very emotional. Instead of dwelling on the material things that she lost, though, she concentrated on the memories associated with that particular area. It also showed her concern for families and animals affected by the wildfires, which she posted. She was not only mourning her loss, but all the losses of the rest of them too. But Paris didn't allow the sadness to dictate her response. But what she did was to channel the pain she received and transform it into something productive. She just started an emergency fund for the victims of the wildfire and took every possible measure to make a change. Paris was asking her fans, followers, and friends from the world of celebrities to help her with this mission, and people quickly reacted en masse. People from all over the place gave generously, and she ensured the money was given to the needy. Paris acted quickly, and the families who had lost everything were given hope. This effort was made even more effective because Paris was personally invested. She did not just create a fund and then sit back and watch the money being donated. She engaged with local charitable agencies to make sure that the money was being well spent. What was most exemplary was how she mobilized people during the disaster to show how much she valued the community. It was the part of Paris that some might not have anticipated, but it showed her humanity and endurance. Paris stayed on as the inspiration throughout the entire event. She said everyone should remember that even if you are a glamorous movie star or even a popular singer, life can be very tough. The important thing is how you decide to react. Paris could have remained mute and wept, but instead she got to work and made a change. She did not only use her voice to tell her own story, but also to raise awareness of the larger grief and to get others to participate. Paris isn't the only celebrity who had to face this kind of loss. Up next, let's talk about Mel Gibson. You're not going to want to miss this one. Number 9, Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson was in Texas, where he was working on a new movie, when he received the tragic news that his stunning home in Malibu was one of the homes that the flames had destroyed. Mel Gibson was hundreds of miles away. Consider the following scenario. You're in a distant nation, and you're working hard, and you have no time to worry about anything else. Then you find out that everything is lost. Regardless of where you are in life, you can never be prepared for the kind of heartbreak that you will experience if this happens. Mel did not consider the house in Malibu to be merely identical to any other house. Rather, he considered it to be a home filled with memories, treasures, and effort. In later interviews, Mel elaborated on what it was like to lose such a significant amount of money in a single instant. It was not the amount of money that he lost that he discussed, though. Rather, it was the objects that he lost, which were irreplaceable. Documents, photographs, and other items belonging to the family were among the things that were quite distressing to lose. It is difficult to fathom how emotionally charged that would be for some people. It is the same as losing pieces of your past, those insignificant details that, when added up, have a significant impact on your life. Nevertheless, even in the midst of all that destruction, there was one bright spot. Mel's chickens, which were being kept as pets, managed to live. The chickens that he kept survived the fire. That's correct, you heard that correctly. They survived. In spite of the chaos and destruction caused by this, war, these young men picked up the skills necessary to survive in some fashion or another. Upon learning that they were both in good health, Mel expressed his relief and gratitude for the situation. In fact, he went so far as to say that his chickens must be extremely resilient in order for them to have survived such a catastrophe. The fact that you said that at a time that was otherwise quite serious, this was quite a humorous thing to say. Mel came to see his chickens as a kind of metaphor for the fact that even in circumstances where there is no hope, there is still the possibility of finding some. It was a reminder to himself, and anyone else who may have thought about it, that life goes on regardless of how severe the loss may be. It was a sorrowful and yet unsettling reminder. In spite of the fact that everything appears to be a mess, we all want to entertain the notion that there are some small victories that we might aspire for. Let's look at how this couple, known for their private lives, coped with the devastation and what it meant for them moving forward. Number 8. Leighton Meester and Adam Brody. Leighton Meester and Adam Brody, the very gifted and very secretive couple, familiar to viewers of Gossip Girl and the O.C., suffered a tragic loss when the fires affected their family house. They have not been very vocal about their private life, thus when the news of the disaster was out, fans were shocked. Think of having no home, a comfortable space where you or your closest friends and family members can create the fondest of moments. Well, that is what happened to Leighton and Adam, and it was so sad that I literally nearly cried. What made this even more unique was how hush-hush they were about the entire process. The two were not as vocal as any other celebrities who came out in the open to share their stories of abuse. They did not go to social media to post about the loss or even post interviews about what went down. And that's just who they are, private and prefer to stay on the side of family life. That is something you don't often see in Hollywood, and their fans appreciate that aspect of them. But even when they did not make speeches, there was much that people could learn from them and their stories. In some cases, it is better to say nothing at all. But here's where things get really touching. Leighton's fans were the most helpful in the most unusual way. Fans realized that she was also a musician, and when they learned that she had lost her home, they started supporting her music. They threw streaming parties, posted her songs everywhere, and even started hashtags so that she knew that she wasn't on her own. That wasn't the point of the show. It was about making her understand that people were out there wishing her the best at a time like that. This outpouring of love was not just about fans and fanship, but it was about togetherness. This was the message of love that Leighton and Adam brought into the lives of their fans, and that in the worst of times, people are willing to come out and support you. It's a message that can be hard to swallow, but it is a good message to remember that even in the darkest of times, there is much good in the world, and sometimes it can come from the most unlikely of sources. Leighton and Adam haven't said much about how they're coping, but their fans' efforts sent a clear message: they're not alone. And while they might not tell the world how they're reconstructing their lives, there is solace in their love and from their fans. Billy Crystal's experience with losing his home of over 40 years is another powerful example. Let's dive into how he dealt with a significant loss and how he's moving forward today. Number 7, Billy Crystal. One of the celebrities who lost their home was the legendary comedian and actor Billy Crystal, who recently lost his longtime home in Pacific Palisades due to the wildfires. What do you think it would be like to be alive for 46 years, almost half a century, and then wake up one day to find that your home that you lived in no longer exists? Well, for Billy, it is more than just a physical structure. It is the scenery of several years of his family's history, joy, and accomplishments. That is why, when speaking about the loss, Billy explained how important this house was to him and his family. He said that it was full of precious moments, birthdays, and holidays, and special moments that made up people's lives. He said it was not only a building, but a place where people wrote their stories and treasured them. The sudden loss of all of that is something that no one can ever be ready for, and his words conveyed the terrible feeling of watching history go up in smoke, quite literally. However, as is traditional for Billy Crystal and similar comedians, he did not let tragedy beat him. He did not spend his time mourning over his losses. Rather, he searched for the time to rebuild not just a home, but also a stance on life. Billy has always been about finding the funny side of life and, as much as possible, laughing through it, and this was no different. He spoke about much of the safety of his family, and of course, he appreciated togetherness as a people during the current Black Swan period. Billy also mentioned a lot of encouragement from neighbors, friends, and fans. He explained that everyone was contributing in different ways to provide support for one another, such as donations, volunteering, or even lending an ear. He even joked that he might write a new comedy special on resilience because, as we all know, laughter is one of the best medicine. His attitude to other people made everyone believe there must always be a future for individuals after the destruction of their homes. One particular moving story is that of Jhené Aiko, who not only lost her home, but also everything she owned. Let's take a look at how she turned her heartbreak into a journey of reflection and healing. Number 6. Jhené Aiko. One of the most beautiful and emotional singers, Jhené Aiko, lost her home to the California wildfires. Not only was the house destroyed, but all her possessions and items that she'd accumulated over the years were turned to ashes. Just think about that possibility of losing all the things that were dear to you in the process of one single day. It's a thought that can really make you feel dizzy. However, instead of dwelling on what was lost, Jhené, she turned her attention to what she still had, her family. On social media, Jhené posted very emotional messages of how she is glad that all her loved ones are safe. Jhené said that even though things were burnt, what was important was the lives of her family members were safe. She gave us hope and strength, telling her fans that no matter how dark feelings are, there is always something for which we can be grateful for. Without a doubt, losing her home was painful, but for Jhené, it became a point of contemplation. Instead, she was able to put all those feelings into her music and use the experience as inspiration. She said that it brought her to ponder some of the overarching questions of existence, and those emotions began to inform future works of hers. Music has always been Jhené's voice, and this was no exception. She said to fans that she had been recording new songs which include the pain she underwent, but also the strength and blessing that she got after the process. People who liked Jhené's works did not take long to express their support for her through her social media pages. They all told me that her songs have been instrumental in helping them through some tough times, and now they want to return the favor. It made a lovely correlation between Jhené and her fans, how music can unite individuals when everything is falling apart. Jhené's story shows that loss is always an option, but life is a chance to learn, gain insights, and start over. She taught all of us that strength is not derived from denying the pain, but from accepting it and fighting through it. Number 5. Mandy Moore. Actress and singer Mandy Moore, who starred in This Is Us, was left with her life changed when the wildfires razed her house in Altadena. Worse still, her children had to go to school, and this school was also affected by the calamity. Losing one's home is one thing, but being aware that your children have nowhere safe to go, well, that's another very big loss for any parent to go through something like that. To Mandy, it was more emotional, so when it came to expressing themselves, she did not even hesitate. Mandy began by sharing her emotions about them losing all that they had strived so much for in the utter mess. She told me stories of the house, the occasions that were spent living in this house like Christmas, Thanksgiving, and other family gatherings, as well as the ordinary moments that made a house a home. However, Mandy wasn't just looking at herself despite the fact that she had been a loser in the majority of the cases. Her first priority was, of course, her family. But her children were especially stressed out by the fact of losing everything in their lives, including school and friends, as well as their home. Despite the fact that she experienced tragedy, Mandy focused on inspiring others rather than remaining in sorrow. She began a drive to raise funds for the families that were displaced by the fires and those who lost their homes and schools. Her goal was to unite the people and help where one could honestly make a difference. The fans and followers did not waste much time contributing to and promoting the cause. It's a shock to see Mandy try so hard to make a difference, even though she has many troubles. However, you can only imagine that not everyone supported what was going on. Some of them attacked her for fundraising, accusing her of using the exercises to attract attention to herself. Mandy was not afraid to respond to the negative comments. In her polite but assertive manner, she fired back, stating that the initiative was not about her, but the families that require assistance. She was very clear that when a community gets destroyed, it should not be a time to be negative, but a time to come together. Cary Elwes, another well-loved star, faced the destruction of his coastal Palisades home. Let's see how he handled the loss and found his own way to move forward. Number 4. Cary Elwes. The actor who portrayed Wesley in The Princess Bride had his coastal Palisades home reduced to ashes by the wildfires. It must be so devastating to see a place where you have lived, where memories of your life are stored, turn to ashes in several hours. But for Cary, it was more than losing a house. It was losing the place that contained so much of his history. In the case of loss, when Cary began to think about it, he was able to express himself sincerely. He said that he was shocked that one day he had a home and the next he did not. But even through all of this sadness, Cary made sure to remain fixed on the right priorities. He said he was thankful for his family's safety, because the house can be rebuilt, but human life cannot be replaced. From this, it was evident that as much as he cared for everyone, all he desired was that everyone was protected. Cary was completely truthful, but at the same time, he was motivating. He said that the feeling of losing his home to the wildfires is unexplainable, especially when one has to realize that all the things that were dear to him were burned and a part of his life just went up in flames with a wildfire. Still, he mentioned how good people were to him and how much the people united could do for one another. He said that in such times, one tends to feel so lonely, but the people in our lives make us realize otherwise. His musings were not morbid, as they could be seen, but about hope and the ability to rebuild and find new bonds. It made Cary's story more inspiring that, after going through what he went through, he began preaching against wildfires and how people needed to come together to support each other. Cary urged the people not only to assist the victims, but also to do everything that would prevent their houses and close ones from the same fate in the future. A man made his personal misfortune into an opportunity to help other people. Well, that is something all good people can emulate. For Cary, even the loss of a home, as stated, is not very easy, but with such a powerful story, those around the victims can inspire hope and strengthen even after being forced out of their own homes. His story is a very good reminder that even though the flames can burn our things, they cannot burn the love of a community. Let's explore how this former NBA star dealt with the wildfire's devastating impact. Number 3. J.J. Redick. When the fires erupted, J.J. Redick, the ex-NBA star, who is now a podcaster, had only recently moved into his new L.A. home. The fires, however, burnt down that house. Just think of getting into a new home that you have always wished to be in, full of expectations to create new memories, only for them to disappear in front of your eyes. That is what JJ went through, and the emotional cost, which was so high, was evident. JJ has never been one to get flustered on the basketball court, but this was of a different breed. He also talked about the sorrow of having to let go of a home he had only recently considered in his own interviews. He said how it was quite bizarre to see everything go up in smoke in such a short time. We are not only witnessing the loss of property, it was a home where he planned to have stability and raise a family. It is a kind of pain that is difficult to explain to someone else. Part of what made JJ's story so remarkable was how willing he was to talk about how it made him feel. He was not afraid to say that it was difficult to comprehend. He explained the emotions of surprise and powerlessness, the sort that arises when one realizes that there is no way to prevent something as large as a natural disaster. He also felt secure with his family life, in which he had made it clear to them that the house they lived in was replaceable, but their lives, well, they were not. JJ also mentioned that the use of the experience helped him to think about the concept of resilience. He thought about how crucial it is to have strength when everything is as tough as it can be, and how it can make all the difference when people are there for you. JJ was wise, and for the audience and his friends, he was candid and real, showing that even in bereavement, they can still go on. However, JJ did not limit himself to just getting his own treatment right and getting better. He also took to his social media accounts to appeal to the public to assist the victims of the wildfire. He pointed at people coming together when there's a disaster to show that rebuilding is not only about structures, it is about people. His words motivated many to give their money and time to help the needy, who had lost even more. JJ's journey teaches one lesson. Everybody will go through the phase of loss in their lives. But it's how we handle ourselves several times when we lose something or somebody that we value the most that defines us. His sufferings and his desire to help those in need make his story a real-life human interest story of pain and triumph. Next on our list is a story that will leave you stunned. Number 2, Zooey and Emily Deschanel. Zooey and Emily Deschanel, the two gifted sisters of New Girl and Bones fame, had a very close family experience when the wildfires reached their childhood home and burnt it down. It was not just any house. It was the place where they belonged, their origin, the place where they learned, laughed, cried, and made all meaningful memories in life. Loving it was not just about losing a building, but even losing an anchor, a part of them. What made the loss even harder was that the fire didn't just take the home, it also took the memories, the photos, the family heirlooms and mementos. These were items that contained families' histories, their parents' histories, and all those things that made them who they were. To Zooey and Emily, the loss was something more than the loss of property. It was about the memories people had attached to them and the loss that comes with having something taken from them. Both sisters expressed their feelings on social media about what the home was to them. They mentioned in the interviews and the posts about social networks the pain of realizing that the place where they used to live was no more. They choreographed the house through happy childhood memories that people shared when they were growing up, like playing in the backyard, having meals together at the dinner table, and other minor things. We were hearing stories of the past, and it was evident how much the home is responsible for the people that they are today. Zooey and Emily were sad, but they both knew how to look at the bright side. They thanked others for the safety of their family and stated that although the house was destroyed, the memories would never be erased. It proved to be an awesome experience and, in the end, revealed the strength that they have as sisters and as a family. It also made them wonder what other ways are useful or possible to carry out the family's traditions and history, apart from mere object usage. This taught them how unpredictable life is, but also that the only things one should hold on to are strength and relationships. Many people wrote to Zooey and Emily, telling the story of their own grief and how they were able to find strength in difficult moments too. It established camaraderie since everyone can attend a music concert after a breakup and find hope in having or supporting similar experiences. You'd never expect this to happen to someone like LeBron James. Wait until you hear how he and his family escaped danger. Number 1. LeBron James. Basketball superstar LeBron James, who is popular worldwide, had a frightening experience during the L.A. wildfires that raged in California. For a man who has achieved so much and is as popular as LeBron is, the wildfires showed that nobody is safe from nature. It is quite heart-wrenching to see yourself as one of the most popular athletes in the world, and all you can do during the fire is to take your family and flee. Well, that is exactly what happened to him. LeBron's house in Brentwood, one of the most expensive districts of Los Angeles, was threatened by the wildfires in 2019. Because the fire quickly engulfed the buildings, people had to flee without much notice. LeBron, his wife Savannah, and their children had to flee from their house. This was not only the fear of losing a house, but also the confusion and stress of shielding one's family during an unpredictable catastrophe. That is why LeBron decided to share the experience on social media, so the audience would get an idea of what it is like. He tweeted that he was driving around for hours trying to find an available hotel to spend the night in. Just imagine it, LeBron James, one of the most popular athletes in the world, without a place to sleep. He described it as an emergency like I've never seen before. He was able to get shelter for his family after some time, but the stress was too much. In interviews, LeBron was able to describe how he felt so helpless during this time in question. This was a moment of weakness for someone who was once the captain of his basketball team and a businessman who ran his companies and factories. It was a rude shock to people that even celebrities can be victims of the unpredictable force in nature. LeBron didn't even limit himself to only providing for his own children. He also got a chance to advocate for the fires and the people who were affected by the disasters. He stood with firefighters and first responders, as well as the countless relief organizations that are working around the clock to put the fires out and support the countless individuals who have been left without homes because of the fires. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories. Stay tuned for more celebrity moments and untold tales. Hit that bell so you don't miss out.